hearing that the numbers are looking good on the ground. Is this a narrative against the narrative of a lower turnout for this election?
Well, I think it's still early to call it. We know that the early morning surge, always gives the impression that there's great turnouts. But what usually happens at voting stations is that as the day wears off, during the day, your lunchtime, mid-morning, it quietens down a little bit, and then it picks up again in the late afternoon towards the closing of voting stations. That's where we see the long lines, people who've perhaps been working through the day. And remember, there are still employers, unfortunately, in this country who don't give their employees the opportunity to go for special votes as we had over the weekend. So a lot of people will be scrambling to go and vote after they come back from work, especially people who work at supermarkets, garages, hair salons, all your amenities that are usually open on a typical public holiday. So I am hopeful that South Africans will use this opportunity. One thing that I always like to reiterate is that we fought for the right to vote. It is a right that you have, and it is a shame to waste it, even though we know that a lot of our political parties have their own challenges and they have their own problems. But on a personal and individual basis, I think the ethos or the motivation to go and vote, it's because it's your right. And there's somebody out there who died for that right to vote. And it's something that makes us unique as a constitutional democracy, that since 1994, every color, every gender, even women ourselves, we come from a history of not having the right to vote. And we know that even in these elections, women remain the bigger percentage of voters. When they do a gender split, it always goes in favor of women. Women are still in the front line of our democracy, even though women still remain, with gender inequalities, and they still face a lot of inequalities. And it's interesting that I didn't hear what a lot of political parties are planning to do, to redress, some of those gender inequalities on a local level. But women still continue to be the ones that are in the forefront of voting. So it's early days today. Let's look forward to what happens. I do anticipate that, with over 98% of voting stations already open, that things will continue to develop, and let's hope that the violence that they've been threatening in KZN will be squashed and that your security cluster is on top of things.
Speaking of that province, let's take you now to KwaZulu-Natal.